and welcome to Council Catch-Up here on WSTO TV. I'm your host, Derek Westby, and we're here to talk about the July 22nd, 2025 City Council meeting, and I'm here with Mayor Swadley. Welcome.
Morning.
So you had your meeting last night. You had a couple of presentations. Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, Nels 40 from Yahara Bay Distillery was there to give us an update on their plans for the Stoughton Utilities building. And he basically described kind of their philosophy, their timetable, the amount of money they want to invest in the building and what that might look like when it's done. So we're looking at, probably a 2 to 3 year process at this point, and we're excited about the prospects of them coming to Stoughton. The other presentation we had was covered later on in the meeting, and that was an update from Authentics, and they'll be building some apartments behind Sandhill School as part of the STI development. And they did a really nice job in their presentation of highlighting some of the features of their building and the sustainability efforts.
All righty. Up next, there was a consent agenda. Nothing really of note in there. Then we went on to new business, a road maintenance agreement with the town of Pleasant Springs.
So we had requests from the town of Pleasant Springs to enter into a road maintenance agreement, and we decided that if we were going to have that conversation, we wanted to take an inventory of all the roads that we share and who does what for road maintenance, whether it's snow plowing or mowing or maintenance to the actual roads. And so we went through that process. Recommendation from the city council was to enter into an agreement. That agreement does not exchange any money, so we'll sign and send that off to Pleasant Springs.
Okay. Item number 8 was Resolution 102 relating to park naming in the STI Holdings Gateway East development.
So we have a park naming policy, and Stoughton Trailers came to the CACP committee, Community Affairs Council Policy Committee, and made a request to have the naming rights to the park. That'll be part of the development out there, and the city council voted to move that forward.
Okay. Item number 9, Resolution 103, is accepting Phase 1 public improvements for the same development.
Yeah, so as these developments occur, we typically have public improvements, roads, utilities, that type of work that's required. And oftentimes we'll have a letter of credit as collateral, and then when those improvements are done, the city would accept them and then release those funds.
All right. Item number 10, Resolution 104 of 2025, relating to professional services for the city.
Yeah, so we, as you might recall, we had some conversation previously on an ordinance to allow us to work with a private contractor for state approval on building plans. And this resolution gives us the opportunity to contract with a company to do that. Ultimately, it's up to the commercial builder that would want to select. There's advantages of going with the state versus a private contractor, but there's also advantages, especially timeliness of working with somebody independently. And the city would get a small financial contribution if they were to partner with a for-profit company to get their state building plans approved. The other nice thing about this option is it allows us to access and monitor where we are in the queue on these projects. So when we're trying to plan ahead for future meetings, public hearings, and those types of things, we can better understand, when that work will be completed.
All right. Item number 11, Resolution 105 of 2025, is relating to an extraterritorial land division in the town of Pleasant Springs.
Yeah, so you might recall Stoughton is considered a fourth-class city. So under that, any development that would be outside the city limits within 1.5 miles, we basically have to give authorization for those projects to move forward. Usually doesn't create a conflict. This one here is way out of the city limits, on kind of the edge of that extraterritorial jurisdiction by the lake, and the city council, okayed for that land to be, done out there. So no issues with that one.
Okay, item number 12 was a first reading of Ordinance 27 of 2025, doing some rezoning on Nygaard Street.
Yeah, so out on Nygaard Street, there's a small lot between kind of Church's Chicken and the new 51 apartments. And we have a veterinary clinic that's interested in building there, so we had to rezone it to allow them to operate there.
All right. Item number 13, Resolution 106, a conditional use permit for that apartment complex that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, so a conditional use permit basically sets the parameters for an approval, and we work with the developers to put things in there so they have to meet certain like green space requirements, for example, and other things that we would want to have in the agreement. And under a conditional use in Act 67 law that was passed several years ago now, if you were going to deny this type of request, you would have to really be able to demonstrate why it would be detrimental to the neighborhood. So it would be like if there was a traffic study done and they couldn't meet the requirements, or if there were some things on site that didn't meet certain city ordinances, then that would be a means of denial. In this particular case, initially when they submitted their application, they weren't meeting the green space requirements, and they reworked their plan and came up with some really creative ways to do that, implementing some sustainability strategies. So the council, I think, was real pleased with the efforts that they made, and this was approved.
Okay. Resolution 107 of 2025 is the next item on the agenda, relating to a multiple principal buildings on Glacier Moraine Drive.
Yeah, so Glacier Moraine Drive is out kind of across the street from Emmy Roth, and we have 6 buildings currently and 2 more underway for what we call business incubators. Most of them have 1 or 2 car garages basically and some offices. So a startup business like a light company or a landscaper or a builder, those type of companies sometimes do their startups in these types of businesses. What they like to do is purchase the lot next to it, the 2 acres, and then put in some units that would be 3 or 4 overhead doors, so they could have a current tenant could grow into one of those facilities, and then they could backfill the current facility. So this is just a step in the process that allows them to operate on that site.
All right. Item number 15 was Resolution 108 of 2025, approving 2-lot CSM for a property on Highway 51.
Yeah, so we have property on Highway 51 that they want to combine lots and sell houses and things like that. Right now they're rentals, and it kind of goes with the next item. There's 2 of them together, and basically they want to be able to sell these as single-family homes.
Okay. So then the next one was item 16, which is zoning change for those same.
Yeah, so that would just change it from basically like a duplex zoning to single-family home zoning, I believe it was.
All right. Item number 17, Resolution 110, is an agreement for a pro forma analysis on TID 8 for the Alexander Company.
Yeah, so what we want to do is enter into agreement with Ellers to do an analysis. We have a TIF request from the Alexander Company for the Riverfront project. And there's kind of 2 parts to that. First is we need to do an analysis to see whether or not that, the project, could not happen without the assistance, and verify the numbers from the developers to make sure that what they're asking for is reasonable and we can justify that. So that's kind of the first step, is to engage with Ellers to do that pro forma analysis.
And it looks like the next item is also with Ellers, relating to an allocation amendment for TID 7.
Yeah, so TID 7 is the TIF out by Kettle Park West. That TIF has been performing very well. We have a fund balance on that. And basically what we would do is we would use that as a donor district to help pay off some of the debts that's been accumulated in TID 8. And then we also, as we go through the TID 8 TIF request, we'll have to understand what the future costs would be and whether or not we can use some of the TID money in TID 7 to help offset some of the future debt that will be incurred to do the public improvements and the soil remediation and those types of things.
All right. Item number 19 was Resolution 112 of 2025, relating to amending the CIP for City Hall renovation needs assessment.
Yeah, so at a recent meeting, we had a presentation on basically all of our buildings, and that assessment identified some big ticket items that need to be repaired: windows, roofs, HVAC units. And we just want to make sure at City Hall that before we start investing in replacing some of them units, that whatever we put in there will be compatible if we decide to remodel the building in the future. So we want to engage with our engineers to really understand things like where the ductwork located. So if we were to add offices or move things around, or maybe rearrange a conference room and make the building safer, or things like that, that we don't spend good money after bad.
Okay. Item number 20, Resolution 113 of 2025, relating to a CIP amendment to purchase a piece of equipment for Public Works.
Yeah, so trommel screen, they joked, is kind of used on, the show where they sift for gold. We use it for our mulching and soil out at our Public Works site. And we've been renting one for many years, and we've talked about purchasing one for several years, and it just had a hard time purchasing one because it was more cost effective to just rent them. And we became aware that there might be one available at an auction, and we feel like we can bid on that and purchase it at a price that would be cost effective versus continuing to rent year after year. So the council authorized Public Works to enter into the auction up to a certain amount and see whether or not they can secure that screen.
All right. Resolution 114 of 2025 is a memorandum of understanding with the Alexander Company.
Yeah, so we've had a memorandum of understanding and agreement with them for several months now, and they just really need a little bit more time to finish their due diligence, which would include the TIF analysis, and then ultimately putting together a developer's agreement, getting the site plan approved, things like that. So we just basically are extending the current agreement.
All right. And then the last item was a amended agreement with Phase 2 of Kettle Park West.
So this has been on several agendas here over the last few months, and the City Council reached an agreement last night contingent on some information we needed to get from the bank, which is being processed. And basically what it does is it allows the city to purchase land down by the pond near Highway 138 South, or 138 West, going toward Oregon as part of the Kettle Park West development. And then we can put in a trail system, put restoration, prairie grasses, and things to protect the wetlands in the pond down there. It helps the developer release a deed restriction that are on 8 lots on Oak Opening, as well as it gives us the parkland that would be required for the approved plan to build the 96 apartment units behind the True Hotel. So it really checks a lot of boxes for us and allows the developer to move forward and finish the Phase 2 of that development.
All right. Well, that's all we had for the July 22nd, 2025 City Council meeting. We'll see you next time on Council Catch Up.